them from starting.
But Patrick Reynolds is an anti-smoker, though. Okay, Patrick Reynolds, I think, heads up the anti-smoking division of the company because he is he's really ardent anti. He wants to stop. If he bankrupt the company, he doesn't care because he's got the money.
I'm not going to complain about the bill because 99% of it is absolutely fantastic.
Because he's got to make him money.
But he worries that FDA regulation could take the electronic cigarette off the market.
Well, they think it will kill the e-cigarettes because there's basically the e-cigarette, as we've been talking about, basically is a means. It's an unintentional means of getting people to smoke off of cigarettes because he gives you the same. I mean, like Telly Savalas used to stick a lollipop in his mouth because he smoked cigars all the time.
Well, because part of it is a nicotine addiction, and a lot of it is people just like something in their mouth and their hand. There's people that are just like that.
Because what happens is a lot of people gain tremendous amounts of weight, not because the nicotine suppresses it, it's because they're doing, what you do, it's hand to mouth. What is also hand to mouth besides putting a cigarette in your mouth?
Food.
Food.
That's why Telly Savalas went to lollipops. But one of the things I always notice, not so much with cigar smokers, but with cigarette smokers, is most of them are not, they're not really overweight.
That's right.
Not like some others. And I think part of it is because instead of eating, they're just smoking.
They're smoking. I mean, cigars, I can guarantee you, when I was a young person, actually, I might actually have been in the military once. I can tell you something that if I'd have been in the military, which I actually never was, this way if I run for political office, nobody can get me on anything. So, but I can tell you, if I was in the military, I would, because I would have been 16 and a lieutenant, which actually was an ensign, but I got to be a lieutenant by 18. If I'd have been in the military, which I never was. But if I was, I might have had got stars on my shoulder by the end of the time, but I never was, so don't worry about that. But he told me, he said, the best weapon you'll ever have with you is a lit cigar when you go walking. And I couldn't figure out why, and then he said, well, he sat there and showed me. He sat there and puffed up a cigar, and he said, come towards me. And I stupidly did. And he burned me with the cigar, and I backed off. And then, he said, okay, that's why it's good to have it. And he said, and I said, come at me again. I said, amazing, no. That's if I was in the military, I would have said no. And he said, come at me again. I'm not going to burn you with the cigar this time. So I came at him, and he flicked the ashes in my face. Yeah, no. And then he said, okay, like he said, if I'd have been in the military, he said, okay, now this is the third method. He said, throw the cigar in the guy's face and run like hell. So he said, that's why you find a lot of smaller sailors walking around with cigars. They're not as much smoking them as it's an equalizer if you're a small guy walking in some place at night.
Because the other part is, who do you pick? You got two guys to pick from. You pick the guy that doesn't have the cigar.
That's right. Yeah. Well, actually, they almost always picked on the little guy.
Yeah.
But the little guy had a weapon in his hand at all times. And he was the dangerous one. The big guy generally, what are you going to do? You're going to get hit by the big guy, or you're going to get burnt by the little guy. They never think about getting burnt until, like I said, I got a really nasty burn when you sit there and stuck that thing in my hand, because it automatically makes you just back away. Then flicking the ashes in your face, because then like the third one, you hit the guy in the face with your cigar and then run, because by the time he's recovered, you're gone. The object always was, though, remember, if I was in the military, they said the object was always to run like hell after you did it. So that's why...
If you were in the military.
That's why sometimes you see an awful lot of sailors smoking cigars and not cigarettes. It's not a macho thing, it's just the opposite. It's that we're not as big as those Marines or those other guys. So it's our protection.
That's a really good point.
That's right. But most people, as far as I know, most people that smoke cigars generally aren't as unhealthy, because you will smoke, okay, with a cigar you'll either smoke one cigar, or you only smoke part of the cigar and then you'll put it out and then you'll come back to it later. But with a cigarette, people will smoke an entire package of cigarettes at a time.
Or the whole cigarette.
That's right.
It's kind of like, well, it's not. It's like Because part of it is cigars are so expensive, you're trying to savor it, you don't want to use up the whole cigar. Where cigarettes do not cost quite as much per cigarette.
Oh, I know. I mean, if I actually smoke cigars, I can tell you that boxes of Cubans are very expensive.
And they probably last a lot longer for boxes of cigars.
If I smoke cigars, I could tell you that, you know, Tom Jones used to smoke cigars that smelled like they were burning rubber. So, and if I was smoking cigars, I could tell you that I once got clipped for an ungodly amount of money by Tom Jones to buy Cuban cigars.
Did Elvis ever smoke cigars?
No. Well,
Or cigarettes?
No, you're a health person.
Really?
Don't look at his movies. You never see him with something stuck in his mouth because it
That's
also
true, I never have.
his throat.
Oh, he's a singer.
He was a singer.
Singers don't want that.
Singers generally, okay. If you see a
good
singer that smokes, he has a very raspy voice, and you know he has a problem hitting the notes all the time. So.
Oh, that's a good reason.
And a lot of singers that you think smoke, okay, you're trying to look cool, and you're really not inhaling. You're puffing. You're making it look like.
Oh, so basically, people that rely on their voice, probably singers. Radio announcers,
you know,
people like that probably
people don't smoke a lot, so but they'll you know, they'll give you the cool bit with the cigarette that is burning, not a cigar, because a cigar will go out on you. Oh. So they use a cigarette because a cigarette will burn continually. It's a prop on the stage to make you look cool. So,
isn't that much of what it is?
I know.
Looking cool.
I know.
But I guess, you know, smoking, it's better than nicotine patches, right, or the gum?
I know.
But I guess it all depends on why you're smoking in the first place.
Well, actually, you shouldn't smoke in the first place. Smoking is bad for you. I mean, I grew up in a house where my parents smoked, my grandparents smoked, and then I grew up in a business where you could walk in and out of things. I guarantee you, I once went to a thing in Las Vegas. Sammy Davis Jr. actually, don't have no clue how the man could sing. The guy would smoke, because he was a musician too. I mean, I would go into the thing where the musicians were, and there would be so much funny smelling smoke that it would knock you flat. And you'd like have to part the clouds of smoke to find where anybody was at. But that's the world I grew up in. And the secondary smoke never killed me. Didn't kill my brothers, didn't kill my sister, didn't kill anybody that I know of. And we had secondary smoke before it was filtered.
And he's still alive.
I know, and I'm old. I'm the oldest living member of my family now. So, I mean, I fall over and break a lot of things.
So.
No, but we're just, doing things on the
smoking. And the FDA.
But the FDA, remember that the things are not always as they seem to be when Congress passes them. A lot of congressional bills are passed without the people passing them actually knowing what they're doing when they pass them.
Which actually is quite atrocious, I think.
Yeah,
it's also probably why a lot of the Congress people tend to be lawyers, because you have to be a lawyer to read it and comprehend it.
They don't even read them though, that's the bad
part. I know, that's horrible, because they stick it in. If you're on the committee, you just kind of stick it in there. And
yeah, if anybody in their right mind would have actually read the smoking bill, they'd have known what they were doing. They'd have known that this was an ungodly nightmare, because they just basically give a pathway to every kid in the country.
I don't think they thought about that.
Didn't think about it. They thought, well, we're going to put regulations on them. Well, it means they can make the cigarettes cheaper now, sell them for more money, and hit more people.
You know, the funny part is they always say the easiest person to con is a con man,
yes.
Or the easiest person to sell something to is a salesman.
Yeah. And
what does that tell you?
That's right. That's why you get a bill like that. But you're going to hear more about this. As they've all realized what they've done now, and they are trying to undo what they did. But the problem is that the people that snookered them in both houses have no intentions of siding with them to undo it. So, but until next time, this is Oldecam.
And this is Not a Spring Chick, and we're here yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And for more information,
you can go to www.montybubbles.net on the net.
Or come join us on Twitter. So thank you once again.